Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a baguette from scratch as easy as you can at home. So for starters, the first thing you want to do is wash your hands. That's very important. Your ingredients are going to include 4 cups of lukewarm water. Next, you're going to need 6 cups of white flour. Next, you need 2 tablespoons of yeast. You could use dry yeast or and then 2 tablespoons of salt. Alright, your first steps is basically you just want to mix everything together in one big bowl. Alright, now after you got all your ingredients mixed together, you just want to start kneading the dough with your hands. You could pretty much just do what I'm doing here, just pretty much play with it, mix it, get everything mixed together pretty much. Alright, here's what your dough should look like afterwards. You want it to look kind of dry and rough. Alright, your next steps is to cover your dough and then just put it on the counter, leave it sit in somewhere warm for about 12 to 20 hours just to let it rise for the second time. Alright, after you've let your dough rise, you want to start covering a flat surface or anywhere with flour so that you can start shaping your bread. You just dump your bread out onto the table here. And this dough, the recipe should get you about 2 full baguettes. So as you can see in a second, I'm going to split them in half and try to make 2 separate shapes. Alright, the main key to getting a good baguette shape is just to kind of roll it long and flat-wise. You want it to be cylindrical, so if you could see here, my main steps is to just kind of roll it with your hands and then kind of pull it out and stretch it with your hands. You can fold it in on yourself, and if you want, you could use a rolling pin to help you kind of flatten it out, but basically just get into like a long cylindrical tube. Alright, this is the final product, what you should look like. You got just a nice flat long piece of bread, and you want to pretty much do the exact same thing for the other piece you have. And then afterwards you want to get a nice baking sheet and cover it with parchment paper, and then flour it to make sure it doesn't stick to the paper. Alright, after that you just want to put your bread on there and give it another flour on top to make sure that the bread doesn't stick to anything. And similar to before, you're going to want to cover these and leave them out for 1 to 2 hours so they can rise for a second time before you actually bake them off. Before we start baking, first things first, always got to preheat your oven. For this recipe, we're going to do it about 450 degrees. Next, what you want to do is get a second baking sheet and just fill it with hot water, as hot as you possibly can. Next, what you want to do is you want to put the baking sheet that you just filled with water on the bottom shelf of your heated oven, and then you put your bread rolls on top, or your loaves, And basically this is because it creates a steam chamber, which helps make the bread have a nice crust and a crunchiness to the end. After about 10 minutes or so, you're going to take your bottom baking sheet out, the one with the water on it, to let the actual bread bake the rest of the way without the steam. After another 30 minutes, you're going to get your bread out and temperature it to make sure it hits at least 190 degrees to make sure that your bread is cooked fully through. As you can see here, mine was 200 degrees, so it's cooked all the way through. Afterwards, you just let it cool and then you enjoy it pretty much. Cut it up as you can see how I am, and you eat it up. I appreciate you watching the video. I hope you definitely learned something. I hope you learned how to make some bread, and just wanted to share this recipe with you. Thanks.